Morning, Rufiwa. Yeah, there was an upward adjustment to the Reserve Bank's inflation forecast, but a fairly limited one. And also, if one looks forward, I think the key issue here is to try and gain some clarity on the new inflation target. So the Reserve Bank would like to target the bottom end of its current inflation target range of 3%. But to get inflation down to 3%, if that target is eventually confirmed, and we'll have to wait and see, then potentially you need to keep real interest rates higher than what would have been the case to guide inflation lower to that level. And key within this, the point that needs to be made is that inflation expectations play a very important role in getting inflation lower and keeping it there. And if we look at the inflation expectations survey that came out recently, the third quarter survey shows that next year and the year thereafter, and indeed for the longer term, average inflation expectations are at 4.2. So that's quite a long way from 3% if that is confirmed as the final target. So I would think that there isn't necessarily a completely closed door on further interest rate cuts. Perhaps, a lot will depend on the inflation outlook. Forecasting is hazardous in the current environment. But if inflation does head lower towards the level that the Reserve Bank still expects it, well, at least it expects near term to go up to 4 and then 3.6% lower next year from an average of 4 in the final quarter of this year. If that happens, then potentially, the quarterly projection model is showing the potential for some further interest rate cuts.
Now, this does bode well for the rand as more investors will flock to higher interest rate markets, right?
I think the rand has also, it's been appreciating of late. And the reason for that is in part what's also been happening in the US. So the US Federal Reserve has cut interest rates. And also, of course, we've seen our terms of trade stabilizing. It wasn't particularly strong in the second quarter relative to the first quarter, but there's been a relative improvement of late, partly due to that very high gold price.